there everyone, what's up and welcome back to Streaming Stars. We all know how tiring and exhausting looking for the right movie could be. And a lot of times the time it takes to find the right movie on Netflix just kills all your mood. If you're looking for the movies most watched by people in 2020, then here are the top 10 ones right for you. But before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos. Alright, now let's begin. Number 10. All the Bright Places. Based on the novel of the same name by Jennifer Niven, All the Bright Places definitely makes this list due to the popularity it gained especially from the people who fancy watching the teen romance genre movies. Though people did definitely talk about problems with the adoption of the novel when this movie came out, and a lot of people genuinely had issues with the casting too, as it apparently did not entirely fulfill the description of the characters presented in the book by the author. It still actually ended up getting quite some critical praise for how everything turned out to be. The movie happens to be about a young girl, Elle, who happens to be in high school and her younger sister dies on a bridge. And then the other main character, Theodore, came across Elle trying to suicide by jumping off the bridge. The incidents that followed led up to the two of them bonding with each other, but Theodore also ended up committing suicide, leaving Elle all alone. Number 9. Extraction. Released back in April of 2020, anything that basically has Chris Hemsworth starring in it as the main character is most definitely supposed to be a super hit movie. And since this movie required Chris Hemsworth to actually make use of the muscular physique Chris Hemsworth has, everyone would have been dying to watch this movie and him show some action in it. This movie is particularly for those who like watching stuff related to the crime world and abductions, as the film happens to be exactly about that. Chris Hemsworth plays the role of Tyler Rake, who's a guy who wouldn't worry about risking it all just to get his job done. And thus he is tasked with the very important role of getting the imprisoned child of a very influential crime lord released, which he obviously does by showing his action skills. Number 8. Spencer Confidential. Another fan favorite for sure is Spencer Confidential, which must have been a sweet treat for everyone who likes action and some real-life combat. The movie was on the top 10 list in just so many countries for such a long time, and it definitely shows how much people kept on watching the movie. In itself, the movie is breathtaking for sure. The movie was initially released on March 6th of this year and ended up being one of the most watched movies for the months to come. The movie revolves around the personality of Spencer, as you all would have guessed from the name of the movie itself, where he basically fights against bad cops in the police department. Due to him bending rules to get his work done, he got jailed for quite some time. But when he got released after having served his jail time, he did not spare any time at all and quickly got back at the job he left off when he had got imprisoned. He ended up busting up a whole lot of bad cops and the drug mafia that worked with him, which was all done in collaboration with the FBI. Since this movie was directed by Peter Berg, everyone would have simply expected it to be wonderful. Number 7. A Fall from Grace. Considering the recent movement to support materials and productions made by the black community, this movie definitely deserves praise. The storyline was supposed to be a romantic one where a couple marries off very happily, but the newlywed couple ends up in a disaster very soon. The wife is alleged of killing her newlywed groom, and thereafter she is questioned by her lawyer, who thinks there might be some foul play going on, incriminating the widowed wife beyond her actions that she had committed. This movie is a must-watch for everyone who loves watching sad romances that ended up in tragedies. Number 6. The Last Days of American Crime. This movie neither happens to be one of those movies which we would recommend you all to go out and watch, nor is it something that got views because it happened to be a very good movie. The matter of fact is, this movie only got its initial views where it remained at top 1 position for around 4 to 5 days. Then it had a massive fall from grace, something never seen before. It was particularly the negative reviews and bad ratings that prompted people to not watch it if they weren't that free. Number 5. Lost Bullet. Considering all the amazing stuff the European film industry has been producing recently, it must come as no surprise that this list also happens to have a French movie on its number 5 slot. Originally named Balle Perdue in French, which if translated means Lost Bullet in English, happens to be a movie about a mechanic named Lino who is compassionate about ram cars. But then he's offered something he just can't turn down if he wishes to avoid prison time. I must say the concept of dirty cops is all over the world. The film is directed by Guillaume Piret and was produced by Versus Productions. Number 4. The Will Abyss. With a 90% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, this animated movie definitely earns its spot in the list, especially for being in the top 10 list for a lot of countries for a very long period of time. And since this also happens to be the only animated movie on this list, this movie sort of deserves special praise. The movie was released in late April of 2020, and it revolves around 4 siblings who venture out on exploring the world with their nanny, while their parents, who had neglected them, also do the same and spend the time of their lives alone apart from their children. Number 3. To All the Boys I Have Loved Before, P.S. I Still Love You. I must say, before I talk about how much the fans loved watching this movie and how this movie was so much critically applauded for being such a fabulous teen romance movie, I definitely have to put it out there that this movie also happens to be one of my ever favorite ones. The movie was basically a sequel of the earlier released movie titled To All the Boys I Love, and thus the movie builds upon the storyline it had stopped in the previous movie, with Noah Centineo starring as Peter Kavinsky and Lana Condor starring as Lara Jean Coué. Their love story would definitely be forever regarded as one of the best dramas that ever became a movie in the history of romance. In order to get a little bit of understanding of what goes on in this movie, you will need to have some prior knowledge, which is only possible if you either read about it or watch the first movie, which is obviously the only thing to do. Lara Jean had initially written love letters to all of her crushes she has ever had, and in plea to get Lara Jean into real relationship, her younger sister Kitty sends out all those letters without Lara Jean knowing about it. Fast forwarding all the drama that went on in the first movie, Lara Jean ended up in a relationship with one of her crushes, but in the second movie another very good candidate, obviously a crush of hers, ended up showing up to her town, thereafter complicating a lot of stuff for the two of them. Number 2. The Five Bloods. If you think this movie happens to be like the other Vietnam War movies out there, then you are definitely seriously mistaken about this movie. The movie revolves around 4 African American veterans who revisit their Vietnam battleground to find the remains of their squad leader and the gold they had mutually found over there. Number 1. 365 Days. This movie has been on the top for quite some time now, and I'm talking about the rankings, nothing other than that. For clarity, another movie from Europe, Poland to be precise. This movie happens to be about a member of a very powerful mafia and a sales director who gets involved in quite a lustful affair. This movie is basically of the erotic romance genre, and if the genre doesn't ring a bell, try recalling 50 Shades of Grey and its sequels. Though the movie sort of had a low rating, it still ended up being watched by the highest number of reasons. For apparent reasons, obviously. Watching all these movies basically means that you have watched all the most talked about movies present on Netflix released in 2020. Well, this brings us to the end of our video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you haven't liked the video yet, so it's never too late. Give it a thumbs up, people. We will see you soon in another video. Until then, take care and goodbye.